Hi everybody, it's Diana with stampingwithdie.com, and I want to bring you this week's Mimeograph Monday. But before I do, I had somebody comment on one of my Mimeograph Mondays, and they said this has nothing to do with mimeograph. And yes. So this is basically my loose interpretation of whatever the word is. Who cares? That word. Mimeograph. So in the dictionary, mimeograph is a machine for making copies of material typed, written, or drawn on a stencil placed over an ink-filled drum to make copies of something on a mimeograph. Okay, so that is the definition in my old dictionary. I don't think it's changed. So basically, years ago, when I started the Mimeograph Monday, I wanted to copy something from the catalog. So really, I would have said copy, but I wanted to do it on the Monday, and copy does not start with an M, and I am big for having whatever I'm doing on the day, it has to have the same letter. So that's when I got out my thesaurus or a dictionary. I can't even remember. I think it was a thesaurus back then. And I got another word for the word copy, and that was mimeograph. So I know it's a mimeograph machine. So, but anyway, so I hope you will still allow me to say Mimeograph Monday, because I'm not going to change it, because I've used it for years. It's just that recently I've kind of brought this little series of things out of retirement. So anyways, I just wanted to touch base with you and explain it again. I don't want to have to explain it before every video. I just want to get to the stamping. That's what you're here for, right? Not to listen to me blabber. But I did want to explain it a little better. If you are using, I just suck at words, but would you be using the word literally? Because I'm using it very loosely and basically copying out of the catalog. So I am just, that's what I'm using. So that's how it is. So after that long drawn out speech, let's get started with this week's card. So I have my recipe. I'm gonna do this gorgeous card right here from the January to June, a mini catalog. So I have all my stuff. I'm ready to get stamping. Let's get to the fun part. All right, let's go.
The Hydrangea Haven bundle is beautiful. So that's what I'm going to be using for this Mimeograph Monday. So I have the stamp set and the die. I'm also going to be using the beautiful Mercury glass paper. Now look how that shines. So I don't want to blind you, but I'm going to be using that. And the Hydrangea Hill DSP. So this is such a beautiful paper pack, and you can even die cut out the DSP. So it's just beautiful. So we're going to be using that. So as I showed you at the beginning, I'm going to be doing this right here, and I have my little recipe all ready to go. Now, the thing is, this is actually a acetate box. So they have decorated the front of the acetate box and put the cards in it. So, but I'm just going to make a card that looks like that. All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to get everything stamped first, and this is just our basic white, and I'm using just the basic white, the regular, and I probably don't even need that. All right, and this is just the little foam pad because it is a photopolymer stamp set. So by using the little foam pad, it stamps a little better. If you need one of those, it is a catalog write-in item. It's not in the catalog anymore. So just let me know and I can give you that information. Also in the description underneath the video will be all the supplies that I'm using. All right, so I'm going to stamp with the Memento. basic black. And I'm going to put 3 flowers. And then these are going to get die cutted out. So I've got my 3 flowers. Like that. All right, let me set that aside. Then I also want this smaller image because I need to die cut those out as well. So I need 3 per flower. So it was fun figuring this card out. So that's what's fun about the Mimeograph Monday. I just look at the card and try to figure it out. All right. So let me close that pad. Set that aside. Okay, so then what we want to do is we are going to start adding color to these stamped images. And I want to move that out of the way too. So the colors that we're using are Old Olive, Highland Heather, Rococo Rose, and Seaside Spray. So those are the colors that we're going to be using. All right, so let me get the pad open. All right, then we have the little solid image. So it's like a 2-step stamping. So now we have our little solid image. Now I do want to bring this back because I am going to stamp off a little bit. So let me just set it down here. All right, so on here, I'm going to ink up with the Seaside Spray, and then I'm going to just touch that lightly so that this is going to be a little bit lighter. So I'm just stamping off some of the thing. I am going to go back and just add a little bit of color to the edge. So it'll be a little bit darker on that edge there. Stamp off and just add, so there's just a little bit darker blue. Then I just need to clean that off in between. Now we're going to do the same thing with the Rococo Rose as I did with the Seaside. So ink it up, stamp it off, touch it a little bit, and just continue to do that. Because if you go solid, you're going to get this, and it's not as inked up. So I'm just basically trying to figure it out. All right, so clean, and then Highland Heather. So same thing, ink it, stamp it off, touch a little bit on the edge, and I'm getting it all over the block, but that's okay. So this is kind of fun because you have a little bit of white. It's got this, it's kind of mottledy, I guess the word would be. So, all right, so there's our little pieces there. And then I would die cut all of these out. So let me put them aside. All right, then we need to do our big flower. So it's the same thing. It has this big, solid, splotchy, watercolory looking image. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to lay that on the pad, and it'll just kind of, I don't want to shove it into the pad. And I'm going to briefly, hardly touch this at all. I just want to go, whoops, I dropped it. Let me do it again. It's stuck to the thing. All right. I want to just kind of touch it a little bit and take some of that ink off. So it's like softer. So see how the edge is a little bit lighter? It's a little lighter up here because I stamped it off onto there. All right, so we're going to clean our stamp. And now I can close my Highland Heather. And then we're going to do the same thing with our Seaside. So we're going to ink that up, do the same thing, kind of get some of that color off of it. Now this is a lighter blue than the Highland. And it's going to go in there, clean it off. So this card takes a little bit of time just because you're cleaning it off in between. But if you were doing a bunch of these, you would do all your seasides, all your highlands. You wouldn't have to clean it off in between like I am. Like, so if you were doing a bunch of these cards, you would get all your certain colors done at the same time. So it wouldn't be as bad. All right, so same thing, inking that up. Basically touch it on there just to get it to be a little bit softer. And then we have it there. So I inked my pads up. That's one of the reasons why I am stamping it off. So you would want to test. You might not need to do the stamping off, but I did. It was too dark. So that's why they're also sticking, right, to the cardstock, because my pads are so juicy. Okay, so now we have our leaves, and that's with the old olive. So I'm doing the same thing. I just kind of like let it rest on the pad, and then the weight of the block kind of pushes it into the ink. So you don't have to like mash it into the pad, because that also helps with the style of this distinctive stamping. Because you do, it's like, it's, now my head's gonna get in the way probably. Because it's got a definite look to it. See how it misses areas and stuff like that? So it's very cool style. So the same thing, do this one over here. Gorgeous. All right. And then the last one. There's our stamped images. Let me wash that. Close the old olive. And then what I did do is I stamped the greeting. Now I used a different greeting. I used the one that says, I appreciate all the little things you do, instead of the congrats. In the catalog it said congrats, but I know I want to use this greeting more. And then I just stamped it with the old olive, and then I would die cut that out as well. All right, so let me close the ink pad, and then we can get our card assembled. Okay, so now what we'll do is we are going to take all of these over to the Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and emboss them all out. And then, magically, they're done, because I did them ahead of time. All right, so let me get all my card stuff. So we have our basic white thick for the card base. And then see, so this, we're turning it into a card. So here is just like the catalog, but instead we're making it a card. And this is some of that gorgeous DSP. And I put just a little bit of a layer around. I didn't cut it quite 1/4 of an inch. It's like I think that's called 1/8 of an inch. So it's 1/8 of an inch smaller. So you just barely see like a white frame around it. And while I have that card, I'm going to also do this on the inside. So this is just some of that same DSP. Don't waste your strips. And I'm going to stick this on the bottom. You can hear Toby in the background. The little goober. All right. So I'm cutting those little edges off. And then we can stick this on the inside of the card so that we can stamp a greeting, or we can just write a message. Okay, so there's the inside of the card. All right, now we're also going to be using the Mercury glass that I told you about. So this Mercury glass has a gray side, and it has like a purple side. There's a couple different colors, but in the catalog, they use the gray side. So to me, that's kind of the back side, but that's fine by me. Now, when you use the Mercury glass, it's actually got a thin layer of plastic on it. And this is just going to keep it from getting scratches while you're working with it. But before you stick it on the card, you want to peel that off. So what I do is I take a piece of Scotch tape, and basically the front is the colored, like the colored side is the front. So the little piece of paper, the little piece of plastic is on the back side. So you want to take your little piece of Scotch tape and just press it to the side of the, whatchamacallit. Oh my gosh. Oh, is this the one I peeled already? I peeled one. Come on. Oh my gosh. Oh, there it is. I'm like, come on, my Scotch tape needs to be a little stronger. All right, so see how it's peeling that plastic off. And then you just throw that away. And then it's all nice and shiny, shiny. Okay, now this is kind of like when you work with vellum. You don't want to put your adhesive on your corners because you're going to see them. So what we're going to do is we are going to build our card here on top of this. Then we will bring it to the actual card. So let me just bring a piece of paper, just because it will be easier for you to see. Okay, is that easier for you to see? I think it is. Okay, so let's build our card. We have our flowers. So here's all my flowers, die cut it out, and all ready to go. So look how amazing they are. So then we're just going to assemble our card. All right, so we have our Seaside Spray card, or our Seaside Spray flower. So that's going to go there. And then you have these little pieces. So these are those 3 ones that I did. And this is going to give this flower some dimension. And I'm going to put those on with glue dots, because this is the lower card. So I don't want it to be super, super thick because the other ones have to glue on top of it. So I'm just putting glue dots on these pieces. So it's just giving that flower some dimension to it. All right, then we have the Highland one. So same thing. So this one goes up here. And then I just try to look at the angles. But I want to put a dimensional on this one, just because it's going to be higher than the other one. It needs to go above this, right? So I'm going to put a dimensional on that one. So that's going to go, I'm like looking at the catalog one. Okay, so there we have that. And the same thing, we have our pretty little purple or Highland extra pieces. And then you're just going to stick them on the flower. And this just adds that hydrangea look to them. You know how the hydrangea has all those layers going on? And then we do the same thing with the rococo. Now I'm going to add dimensionals for it too. On the side there. And that's going to go over here. Now these ones, I'm going to actually add dimensionals so that they come up just a little bit more. It's the last flower to go on the card, so nothing has to go over top of it. So it's okay if these push out just a little bit more than the other ones. Cute. Isn't this fun? All right. So there we have that. Then we have our greeting. So I did the same thing. I put dimensionals on the greeting. I'm going to trim the dimensional in half So it's a little bit smaller. So I just trim that. So it's on each side. And then it's just going to straddle those flowers. So now it's just going to straddle these stems right there. Then we also have the snail has the twine. So that's where the white twine comes from. Is this? It's got like pink as well in it, but they used the white. So this is the snail mail twine, Baker's Twine combo pack. So then I'm going to take a glue dot and I'm going to take my tied little bow and I'm going to lay it in the glue dot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze that glue dot around the knot of the twine. And it's just going to make that glue dot a little smaller. Then I'm going to stick that on the card, and then we can trim our tails because they are too long. And then I can trim them again later. All right, so let's turn this over now. So I'm going to turn this over, and you can see now where all the dimensionals can go because you have the flower. It's hard to see, lift it up, because then you can see exactly, like, oh, I can put a dimensional there, I can put a dimensional here. So I'm putting the dimensionals all over the back, but I'm putting it where this flower is so that when I flip it over, you will not see the dimensionals because all of these are going to hide them. All right, so let me bring the card back, and then I'll just peel all my dimensional backings like this, and then it's just going to go right on the card. Simple, simple, like that. Now, if you are worried that this is a little loose, no biggie. We're going to take our glue dots. I'm going to pick a glue dot up with my scissors, and I'm going to go right underneath the leaf and like that. So now that leaf is tacked down. This one has a little bit more space, so that one I would use a dimensional for. Same thing, I'm going to peel the back off of it, go up underneath. Hang on a minute. Let me take both backings off. Stick it there. And now that's tacked down. So now your flowers, nothing's going to happen to them, right? So isn't that cool? Super, super fun. So while I was trying to figure this card out, and that's why I said it's always fun to try to figure out how the cards were done. So this is the first one I did. So this is the one I've been looking at. So this one I did a little bit differently. There is also in the dies, where did I put the dies? Right here. In the dies, there is also one that cuts just the flower out, and it also cuts individual flowers out. So you can see them here, and then you just pull them front. So now this flower has all these pushy outies. So can you see that? So you could see how, where's my little, here we go. So I know it's hard to see, but you can see, like, look at how this one, see how they all come out? So that's what I thought they had used, but once I did the card, I realized that no, they didn't use this one. So that's why I did it the right way. But I also love the look of this one where you have all the little, it's so hard to take a picture of, but you can see how all of those can come out. So there's the two differences in the card. That's basically the only difference. It had that extra little layer where I used that one that they pooch out. So, but anyways. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's Mimeograph Monday. Let me know. I would love for you to tell me what card you want me to do next week, okay? All right. Have a great week, and I will see you tomorrow for my Teach Me Tuesdays at 3 o'clock Arizona time. All right. Bye, everybody.